Hey guys! Part 5 of What If Naruto Can Use Space-Time Ninjutsu and Travel Between Universes. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start! Chapter 12 Shifts in Mentality. Kakashi was sitting before a campfire, alone in the darkness. His surroundings were blurry, but he saw a pair of eyes staring at him sadly. "Father," he asked to the appearing shade, "what have I done wrong? Why are my genin dead?" "Son," Tsukumo Hatake whispered, "sometimes, bad things happen for no reason at all. If I had ordered them to leave..." Kakashi trailed off. "If I had been more firm, if I had forced them to save their skin, instead of fighting against someone they couldn't hope to defeat. It has worked multiple times," Tsukumo muttered. "When you saved Rin for the first time, and when you defeated Ayatsuri Kenta on your own. Your enemies were well beyond your level of skill, and yet you won," Kakashi snorted. "At what cost? Obito and Rin are dead, because I was too weak to protect them. Your grandson is dead, buried in a forgotten forest. My students have been murdered, because I was too confident in their abilities. It's still my fault. I should have made them leave. I should have been a better teacher." Having no answers to his son's questions, Tsukumo's shade vanished, leaving place to the white shadow of the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze. "Kakashi, sensei?" the broken man muttered. "Is that you?" "Yes," the ghost muttered. "I have come to tell you this: stop beating yourself over the past. Bury the dead in their memories, learn from them, but do not let them control you. Don't let your guilt prevent you from advancing, from living. It is always possible to redeem yourself, to correct your mistakes. Those who live in the past have no future." "Kakashi, my future is empty," the Jounin replied, with a despaired tone. "Dark. I have lost everything. All my dreams have been crushed, one after the other. All my beliefs have been insulted, corrupted, destroyed. Minato-sensei, I have no future. The past and my memories are simply what I still have, in this sinister life of mine. Beyond them, I have nothing." His teacher closed his eyes with a sad expression, before being replaced by another familiar figure of Kakashi's past. The disfigured face of Ayatsuri Kenta moved out of the shadow, his eyes radiating with pure evil, with the sadistic hunger for others' pain that motivated the monster all his life. "I have won, Kakashi-kun," the bastard gloated with insane glee. "I have broken you. I have taken everything from you. Your childhood, your lover, your son, your best friend, your very happiness." The monster smiled cruelly, caressing the copynin's hair, as if he was a trained dog, which he was. "Look at you. You are nothing more than a walking corpse. An empty shell of a man once acclaimed as a hero, a prodigy. You tried to make Obito's memory survive, through your way of life, but he is dead, Kakashi-kun. As dead as your team is. Perhaps it is your fate, to suffer for all eternities, even without me around." The Jounin glared at his dead archenemy. "Disappear," he ordered. "You're just a memory. A mere illusion." Kenta smirked cruelly, the same grin he was wearing when the Chidori had pierced his chest. "I will never be a memory," the shade murmured ominously, before vanishing. "I will never cease to haunt you, Kakashi-kun. Even from beyond the grave. I will never leave you alone." Kakashi awakened in a bed, overlooked by a dark-haired woman. He had returned to reality, leaving the world of his nightmares, and yet, he was still chained by them. The puppeteer, Chibaku. "I can't believe it," Chibaku muttered, as he massaged his shoulders. "All my bones have been healed, all of them." He stared up at the blonde woman with admiration. "Your reputation as the best medic of all times is not usurped, Tsunade-sama. And the lady with the biggest chest ever, damn, her boobs are as big as my head." The woman blushed slightly. "You're too kind. Cute, too much," Naruto groaned, as she stood firmly on her legs. "Chibaku is never polite with girls." "Me?" the puppeteer snorted. "I am the most gentlemanly boy alive." "You're just an exception, my dear," the flat lady sneezed. "Jerk." "Anyway," Chibaku said to Tsunade, blatantly ignoring the blonde girl. "Thank you very much for your help. Really, healing a whole skeleton is no small feat." "I have done that many times," the blonde woman replied. "My son has the nasty tendency of running into bad situations. MOM. "What?" "It's true," she said to her furious child, before looking at the unmoving Kakashi. "I didn't know you were traveling with the White Fang's son. I haven't met him for years, and it saddens me to see him like that." Who the hell was strong enough to put him in this state? Kazama visibly stiffened. Let's just say they were S rank, at least. Tsunade frowned. They? Why multiple Kage-level ninjas were or are after you? The lack of clear answer made her scowl. And why have you such badly regenerated bones? Haven't you ever visited a competent medic before? It's like your skeleton had recovered from big cracks naturally, without any kind of cast to correct the process. For the matter, what is this malevolent chakra running in your veins? Chibaku blushed sheepishly, and he saw Cesori and Kazama tensing sideways. Well, we have a lot of special abilities in the family. Because you're all demon vessels? Everyone looked at Tsunade's son, with varying expressions. While the Senju matriarch didn't seem to be really surprised by the revelation, Shizen and Haku both gasped, Zabuza frowned, and Chibaku's group observed the boy with surprise, who rolled his eyes. Guys, I am the Kyuubi's container, and I have already examined another Jinchuriki before. Chibaku, Naruto and Kitsune, you all keep a demon in check, one that I know too well. His gaze turned serious. How the hell can there be 4 Kyuubi? 1 hour later, Tsunade, her apprentice and her son, were as pale as ghosts. Zabuza's expression was one of pure shock, and Haku's jaw had dropped. The girl was now looking at Naruto as if she had just said she was her long-lost sister, or something just as amazing. Let me get this straight, the Sannin began. You are all alternate versions of my son, Kakashi, and of 3 missing Nins, coming from different worlds each slightly different from our own. She stared at Kazama. Accidentally, you gained the ability to travel between them, the teenager nodded. At first, I had no clear goal beyond returning to my home. But after meeting Naruto, Chibaku and Cesori, I decided to continue my journey through the universes, in order to save my counterparts from their fate as Konoha's sacrifice. My companions had different goals, but since they weren't in opposition, we decided to travel together. The Senju Naruto raised his eyebrows. What do you mean by their fate as Konoha's sacrifice? You aren't abused? Naruto asked, amazed. Konoha doesn't treat you like a pariah? Konoha worships the ground I'm walking on, the boy replied. You cannot imagine the number of fangirls that are after me. Heck, I only spend 1 day in this town before fleeing. All that adoration, it's disturbing. He smirked. That, and the Hyuga wanted me to marry one of them. Hayashi's eldest daughter, in fact. Kitsune gritted his teeth. And Nada, she wasn't good enough for you? What? No. The little ninja shook his head. She's nice and all, but I already have a girlfriend, and Gaara is going to bury me alive in the desert if I abandon his sister. You're dating Tamari? Kazama asked, with a surprised tone. Yep. The boy smiled. She's the coolest girl ever, and a super strong kunoichi. Anyway, Tsunade scoffed. No, Naruto isn't abused. Or disliked, for the matter. Being known as the heir of the Shodaime and possessor of the Mokutan bloodline has many advantages, like being able to purify the Kyuubi's demonic chakra into a benevolent force. He's the village's greatest hero, and praised as such. Chibaku couldn't believe his ears, and he wasn't alone. All of his counterparts were unable to say anything. The mere idea of being considered as Konoha's hero was an alien concept to them. Kazama seemed to be the most surprised, but then tried to mask his growing anger. Why is he like that? The blonde boy wondered. I mean, he should be happy that at least one of us has a good life. Judging your expression, Tsunade said, I assume this is not the case in your home worlds? Kitsune shook his head. We are all outcasts, and our parents are dead. The Sannin raised an eyebrow. I am dead? You aren't our mother, Naruto said. Our mom was named Kushina. Kushi-chan? Shizen gasped. Tsunade only paled, as she looked at Naruto with shock. So this is how their daughter would have looked, she muttered. Kazama locked eyes with her. Their daughter? Minato and Kushina were going to have a child together, the woman explained. A daughter. Naruto's half-sister. We thought they would grow up together, like twins. Minato? Naruto wondered. That's our father's name? Tsunade blinked. You don't know? She stared at Kazama. You don't. I know who Minato is, Chibaku's older counterpart replied, attracting everyone's gaze in the process. But I intended to keep it a secret for later. It's a delicate revelation, and I wanted to tell it to them once they will be mature enough. I assume you understand why. The Senju Naruto and his mother both frowned at the same time, in perfect coordination. Your Minato were different from our own, isn't it? Tsunade asked. And not in the good sense, I suppose? No, Kazama stated. That is why the revelation must be a more intimate time. I understand, the Sannin replied, before staring at Chibaku, Kitsune and Naruto. You have a problem with that? I trust in Iki, Kitsune replied. If he thinks it is better to wait, then I will wait too. Me too, Naruto shouted. I hate being kept in the dark, but if it is so important, I will deal with it. Chibaku simply shrugged. He had already a pretty precise idea on who his father was, and, you. Chibaku trailed off, his mind barely working as something just blew up his brain. Our father got 2 women pregnant? At the same time? Tsunade blushed. Well, yeah. Chibaku almost fell comatose at that. Our father had a harem? Care to elaborate? Kitsune demanded. The Sannin now looked like a tomato. Well, one day, Jiraiya and his student, Minato, came to visit me, for old time's sake. And we got to a bar, drank, just a bit. You finished 6 bottles of sake in a row. You didn't even recognize me. Heck, you even scarred Tonton away when you tried to eat him. Shizen, shut up, the slug summoner ordered. I did drink a little alcohol, like Minato, and the day later, I awoke in his arms, in a bed naked still covered. Why? Spare us the details. Kazama spat, his hand on his face. There are kids here, you know. Sorry, the Sannin excused herself. But anyway, you get the idea. 3 months later, I was pregnant, at the same time as Kushina was. She almost killed Minato when she discovered the truth, and I helped her beat the blonde into a bloody mess. It was the time Minato got the closest to death, Shizen said, a bit embarrassed. I think that Jiraiya's felicitations about successfully realizing my dream of bedding the 2 hottest kunoichi in all of Konoha only made things worse. He stayed on a hospital bed for a whole month before being able to walk again. Zabuza snickered. Never anger a pregnant woman. They become goddamn baby-making killing machines. All the girls, including Haku, glared at him, but he simply shrugged. What? It's actually in the bingo book. What happened? Cesori cut through the discussion. I mean, if your son is the Kyuubi's container, then I assume Kushina met a tragic fate, like her husband and daughter. The temperature instantly dropped. The slug Sannin was now openly glaring at them. The Senju boy's expression had darkened, like Shizen. We were going to give birth the same day. Kushina, being the Kyuubi's former vessel, was in danger since her seal was weakened at childbirth. Jiraiya, Kakashi, my old teacher, Shizen, the Yondaime, they were all present, to prevent a possible jailbreak from the fox, and to celebrate. But another person decided to invite himself to the party. Kazama frowned. Uchiha Madara, he guessed, with a disgusted tone. You know him? Tsunade wondered, and the teenager nodded. Her eyes were now radiating with fury. We fought him, Chibaku explained. Him, and his counterparts, these 3 god wannabes. Zabuza realized. Yes, Naruto confirmed. They are all Madara Uchiha. Apparently, Kazama began, when I travel between worlds, I leave a path open, one that they take at will. My universe's Madara followed me, and recruited 2 of his counterparts to help him. They want to capture me, and exploit my power to their own nefarious ends, but fortunately, we managed to escape their grasp twice. At a huge cost, Kakashi murmured sadly, still barely paying attention to the conversation. They beat us, and killed some of our teammates, Chibaku continued, with barely repressed anger. Like us, Shizen said. He took Kushina-san's daughter, Natsuki, hostage, wanting to exchange her for Kushina. Yondaime-sama tried to save both, but well, the bastard had put an explosive tag on the child, and for once, the yellow flash hasn't been fast enough. Naruto paled in horror. It was her. Chibaku guessed. It could have been her, or us. Madara unleashed the Kyuubi on Konoha, killing Kushina in the process. As the Yondaime, Minato and Kakashi went on to protect the village, the Uchiha decided he wanted to end the Senju line this day and attempted to kill my baby. Fortunately, Jiraiya, Shizen and the Sandaime prevented him from doing so, and I soon came to the rescue. In the following fight, Shizen continued, we successfully killed him. Jiraiya-sama lost an arm and many of his summons, and Sarutobi-sama half of his face and his old friend Enma, but we won. We killed him, he and his trained falcons, Tsunade said, even as he returned from the dead twice in a row. We reduced him to ashes and scattered them to the wind. Her stare hardened. We annihilated him, but the Kyuubi was still in the middle of a rampage, Shizen continued. To save Konoha, Yondaime-sama used a forbidden technique, summoning the Shinigami to bind the Bija and seal it into a child, Naruto, she said, confirming what Chibaku already knew. A few hours, I watched as they took Minato's corpse away to bury it. Unlike his other counterparts, who apparently hadn't connected the dots about their father's identity. Chibaku had guessed it long ago. The physical resemblance was simply too startling, and it would have explained why the Yondaime had chosen him instead of someone else. The Hokage couldn't have sacrificed any other child than his own. To be honest, he couldn't care less about who his father was. He had forsaken his past life long ago, and chosen his own way. He wasn't Chibaku, the son of the Yondaime, but Chibaku, the puppeteer. However, Kitsune, Naruto and the rest didn't appear to have a sudden revelation about it, for now. Though if his face was of any indication, Zabuza had connected the dots too. The Senju have inherited from the great sage's power and energy, the Senju boy muttered. With Uzumaki, they are the best people to contain a demon. My talent with plants has only been discovered way later, during my early childhood. If this bastard is alive, even in another form, the slug Sannin declared, then we will help you kill him. He deserves to die 100 times for what he has done. Thanks, Kazama said, but it won't be necessary. We won't fight them again. Chibaka's head jerked to the teen's side, like Naruto. The Senju's matriarch and her relatives stared at him with shock in their eyes. They're simply too strong, the teenager continued. They are on par with the Yondaime, and the Kyuubi itself in terms of sheer power, and fighting them would probably pose too many risks for us, and for your world. So we're just going to run away. Naruto spat. This is cow. This is the safest path. Her teacher snapped. We are too weak to be more than an annoyance to them, and we need time. The day for us to confront them will come, but it's not now. We will flee and train and prepare, until we are ready, but right now fighting them is suicide. The little girl, and just about everyone, fell silent at Kazama's outburst. They killed Kabuto, they killed Kisame, and they killed the Kyuubi, he continued. They are too strong, the teenager muttered before staring at the group. And I don't want to lose any one of you. Naruto opened her mouth, and closed it immediately. Man, you're fleeing because of us? Because we are too weak? Chibaku cursed himself at his stupidity. Of course. This trio beat us twice, so he's worried, but we are not weak. Kitsune gently posed his hand on the blonde boy's shoulder, silently telling him to stay confident in himself. How can the Kyuubi be killed? The Senju Naruto asked. I thought Bijou were indestructible. They are, Chibaku said. But they can still be killed. Basically, when they die, either in their original form or within the belly of their container, their chakra returns to the earth, before reassembling. However, doing so costs the demon something irreplaceable, his identity. The confused look sent to the puppeteer made him groan. Not that he didn't understand them. When his inner devil had explained him that, he had had a hard time getting it right, much to the beast's sadistic amusement. Jerk. Fortunately, the creature was still too stunned to reply anything. At least, Susanu's beating had one advantage. It's like reincarnation. For example, the Kyuubi is immortal, but a specific Kyuubi isn't. When a Bijou dies, he is reborn with absolutely no memories of his old life, returning as an animal for a few centuries before developing a new personality, different from the original. It's like complete and irreversible amnesia, or as if a new soul had replaced you in your body. That's why Bijou are doing everything they can to protect their host from death. They don't want to reincarnate and lose their personality. That's why the Shikaku is helping Gaara. The Senju Naruto shouted as realization hit him. And that's why the Kyuubi gives us its chakra, Kitsune muttered. They could have led us to die somewhere and return years later, but that would, in a way, kill them. I am the oldest intelligent being on this planet, the fox roared in the back of Chibaku's mind, having finally mustered the strength to awake. I was there when your kind had no concept of civilization. I have seen entire empires rise and fall. I have seen my brethren dying and returning as mindless beasts. I will certainly not lose my memories like they have. I am eternal, and I am patient. One day, your puny seal will break, and I will be free once again, and burn the world until Eve. Yeah, whatever, Chibaku cut through his demon's inevitable megalomaniac villainous rant. I'm not in the mood to hear you talk. Continue, and I'm going to carve your heart out. With a spoon. A spoon? Just imagine how long you will suffer as I try to cut your flesh with it. Tsunade coughed. Well, if you're going to flee soon, then could you at least stay at our hotel until tomorrow? I want you to clarify some things. The girl, Naruto. As Kazama-sensei vanished with Cesori, Tsunade and her newest self in a soundproof room for a proper examination, Naruto went to install herself in her new bedroom, which she was sharing with Haku. The ice user changed herself, leaving her old, torn kimono for another black one offered by Shizen. Haku-chan, the blonde girl trailed off. Am I weak? The young lady half-rotated, blinking. Of course not. Why are you saying this? It's about Nara-sensei, she explained. Because Susanoo defeated me twice, he has lost hope in our chances of winning. Because I'm too weak to fight this guy. Haku frowned. Never say this. You are not weak. But, you are not weak, the missing nin interrupted her. You are strong, because you have something to protect. The bonds that unite you, Kazama-san, and the rest of your group, are powerful. Through your desire to protect them, you will gain the strength to overcome all obstacles. You think so? She asked. Yes, the young lady confirmed, as she sat on her bed. Susanoo and his men are only motivated by their lust for power. Their ambition makes them strong, but without a vision, they are doomed to self-destruct. Only someone that is fighting for his friends, his ideals and his dreams can reach true greatness. Naruto fell silent. Thank you, Haku smiled warmly. It's natural. I have asked myself this question many times, before finding the answer, through Zabuza-sama's teachings. Naruto bit her lower lip. Why are you exactly fighting for someone like him? Not to insult him, but isn't he a criminal? Haku shook her head. Zabuza-sama is a very noble person, even if he is a little rough. He saved me from despair, and tried to save the mist from itself. Kazama-sensei once told me that you were ostracized because of your bloodline. The young lady nodded sadly. Mist has a complicated history. When the Nidaime Mizukage died in his duel with the Nidaime Tsuchikage, the country fell into civil war, as multiple clans struggled to seize ultimate power from the Sandaime Mizukage, who wasn't as competent and charismatic as his predecessor and died very early. The bloodline users, and especially the Kagaya clan, were the cause of many tragedies, and the Mist entered into an era of brutal civil wars, staying isolated for decades and deprived of a strong, powerful government. Civilians and ninjas alike began to hate bloodline users with passion. Her stare darkened. One day, someone powerful and ruthless named Yagura appeared. He was the vessel of the Sanbai, created by a clan to serve as its ultimate weapon, but unfortunately, years of mistreatments and isolation had driven him insane. He turned against his creators, exterminated them, and through sheer power, enforced his rule upon the country with an iron fist, imposing his life philosophy to everyone. Only the strong survives became an official policy, and Kirigakure gained the nickname of the Bloody Mist. Do you know why? Naruto shook her head. Kirigakure's academy produced, each year, 100 of potential genin, but only half of them, at best, would become ninjas. Because the final exam in Kiri was a one-on-one duel to the death between the students. Naruto paled in disgust. That's disgusting. Yagura thought that only someone able to kill anyone should deserve the title of ninja, Haku stated. There are simply not enough missions for a village with too many people, and the Yondaime firmly believed that violence and bloodshed were the best judges to evaluate people's value. Culling the weak was a holy mission for him. Zabuza-sama ended this practice by killing a whole class during the graduation. What? Naruto jumped on place. He killed them all? It was a horrible act, Haku complied. But it was necessary. Zabuza-sama has lost his parents very early because of the Yondaime's rule of terror. He wanted to change our country for the better, starting with this exam. It was a difficult decision, but in the end, the sacrifice was worth it. Yagura acknowledged the system as flawed, and abandoned it for one similar to Konoha's one. Zabuza-sama's spectacular debut also allowed him to rise to a position of power where he could organize a coup against the Yondaime, in the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. Naruto closed her mouth. I can't accept such action as justified. There must have been another way. Perhaps, the lady replied. But what has been done is done, and we can't change the past. Anyway, we have drifted away from our conversation. The citizens of the Land of Water hated wielders of bloodlines, like my mother. She was a member of the Yuki clan. She hid herself in the countryside, under the guise of a normal civilian, and installed herself in a remote village. One day, she fell in love with a male farmer, married him, and gave birth to me. For years, we lived happily, until I discovered my gift. Sadness spread over her face. My father once saw me manipulating ice. Connecting the dots, he realized his wife and daughter were bloodline users. He gathered a mob, raided our house, and murdered my mother right before my eyes. And then tried to kill me, Naruto gasped. How can a parent do that to his own family, to his own child? This is monstrous. At this moment, I snapped. I lost control of my power, and passed out. When I awoke, I was alone, in the middle of a field of impaled people, including my father. After that, I lived in the streets, unwanted, hungry, and sad, until Zabuza-sama found me. She smiled warmly. He gave me a family, a home, and a purpose. For the kindness he showed, I will always be at his side. She's me, Naruto realized. I was right, she is my mirror, someone who shared the same ordeals, and received the same kind of help. Her savior is simply darker than my own. Haku-chan, thank you for saying me this. I mean, it must be kind of hard to remember that. Naruto-san, you're the one I should thank for listening to my story, the Yuki replied. I mean, I have never seen someone that could understand what I went through, except Kimimaro, who is now dead. The blonde girl smiled warmly, her look determined. Haku, I promise you that, whatever you are going to do, I will always be there to protect you. You are now officially a member of my dearest people. The feeling is mutual. Naruto, the puppet master, Cesori. Kazama raised his eyebrows. What do you mean? I mean, the Senju Naruto explained, that there is something wrong with your chakra. When I met you, you were driving the nearby plants completely crazy. It was like you were some kind of abomination or undead. They said you were empty. The blonde teenager frowned, and Cesori imitated him, inwardly. This might be linked to your black chains, the puppeteer stated. Chakra is supposed to be blue, after all. Has something happened during your fight with Tsukiyomi? Kazama reluctantly nodded. I don't know what happened exactly, but he attempted to implant something in me. But then, Kushina saved me. Kushina? Tsunade wondered out loud. Isn't she supposed to be, well, dead? She was, sort of, the blonde said. I don't know how, but apparently Minato had put a bit of his, and my mother's, chakra into my seal, to help when the time for me to confront the Kyuubi would come. When Orochimaru twisted it, they tried to fix the damages, at the cost of Minato's final death. The result, well, he took off his shirt, showing them the twisted arrays is that. As Tsunade and the Senju stared at it with interest, Kazama continued his story. But when Madara tried his technique, Mikaboshi, I think its name was, she interrupted him and saved me. Unfortunately, we have had an altercation, and she has vanished ever since. An altercation? The Sannin asked. None of your business, the blonde teenager answered with a cold tone. Let's just say it's very, very personal. Tsunade stiffened, but said nothing. Your friend talked about chains. Instantly, blue chakra erupted from the world wanderer's body, taking the form of chains. At first, it was Kushina that manifested them, but now, I can control them at will. They are part of me. Sasori's eyes widened. But the color, they were black before. What happened? In a nutshell, the blonde muttered, as he looked at the chakra. They changed colors during the fight. Weird. Tsunade locked eyes with her son. Naruto, I will need your help with this. We are going to examine his whole chakra pathway system, and I want you to say it if your Mokutan notices something abnormal. Okay, he said, as his and his mother's hands were lightened by a green haze. Putting them on Kazama's back, they began to move them on his skin. Cesori silently observed the two, intent on memorizing any helpful technique. It took only 1 minute for the Senju to find an anomaly. The heart. The slug Sannin blinked. I see. What? Kazama wondered. Apparently, a large amount of very potent chakra is quickly fusing with your own, Tsunade stated. In doing so, it's also kicking something out of your system. The process is in its terminal phase, the wood user added. Within a few hours, the new chakra will be fully absorbed into your own, and the anomaly completely purged. I'm not sure of exactly what is getting expelled, his mother continued, but I think that the absorbed chakra comes from Kushina. It is, however, acting strangely, because it seems slightly different, and fluctuating, as if it was conscious. However, I'm certain that whatever is expelled from you is something external. It's alive, or at least dying. Perhaps is it this Mikaboshi? Kazama speculated. It might explain why you don't see Kushina anymore, Tsunade said. By fusing with you, she must have lost any semblance of consciousness, and in doing so, is kicking out whatever Madara implanted in you. Mikaboshi. Cesori thought. Where have I heard this name? You don't notice anything wrong anymore, Senju-san? Kazama asked. The boy shook his head. No, there is nothing wrong. Heck, even this dying anomaly doesn't tick my senses off. It's strange, but I think whatever that was wrong with you is now gone. As the teenager smiled, Cesori gritted his teeth. He didn't know why, but he had the feeling he had missed an important detail. I will have to stay wary, the puppeteer thought. This situation bothers me greatly, It was simply too good to be true. The traveler, Kazama. When Tsunade invited them all to dine, Kazama politely accepted, like the rest of the group, Zabuza and Haku. In fact, only Kakashi didn't show up, pretending not to be hungry, on a very pained and tired tone. His actions were beginning to disturb the blonde teenager to a great extent. The Jounin was simply suffering from an illness called despair, and needed to be cheered up, a thing Kazama intended to do after the dinner. Sitting in front of his Senju counterpart, the world wandered glanced at him. The boy was the very picture of happiness, joking with Kishjin and Chibaku. Kazama refused to admit it, but he was jealous of this child who had the life he, and his counterparts, rightfully deserved. The Senju had a loving family, while the others Naruto's parents only saw their child as weapon. He was loved by Konoha, while his alternate selves were pariah. He had the talent, a cool bloodline, and all the training he could want, while his counterparts had to struggle to earn their abilities. Jiraiya cared about him, unlike the pervert's devils. If this perfect life existed, then why his counterparts didn't have it? Why had they suffered? Why hadn't people acted decently toward them? Why did their life suck so much? So yes, he hated the Senju, for being happy while he was not. He hated Tsunade for being treacherous while she could have been kind. He hated Jiraiya for being so damn selfish, while he could have been selfless. He hated the people of Konoha for abusing him, while they could have supported him. He hated Minato and Kushina for having sealed the Kyuubi inside of him, while he could have been killed, even if only temporarily. He hated them all so much. He hated the gods, fate, or whatever cause of his suffering. He hated the world itself for having denied him this possibility. What am I thinking? The teen wondered, as a distant squeak ceased to resonate in his mind. I must stop thinking about this. This way of thinking will only send me in the madness that Gaara and Sasuke both experienced. Hatred only leads to destruction, for everyone. He didn't hate the Senju. He had a good life, and Kazama was happy for him. He deserved it, and it wasn't the world wanderer's right to steal it from him. This boy would probably one day rise as Konoha's greatest hero, and was bound to make friends, to bring peace, and not to be hunted down by 3 madmen, always fearing for his life. Without Madara, Akatsuki certainly didn't exist, or at least wasn't as dangerous as the one Kazama knew. The Senju would have the life Kazama himself wanted desperately, but only if the world travelers were to leave, before the Uchiha trio reached them. Sideway, Kazama noticed something strange. Zabuza, appearing silent and disinterested in talking, was discreetly, but intensively, staring at his protege, who was currently talking with Naruto. The two looked like they were best friends, and if the swordsman's eyes were of any indication, he was happy about the situation. He locked eyes with Kazama, before looking at the room's balcony. Getting up, the Kirinin advanced toward it, eyeing the skies. Imitating him, Kazama came to his side. "Nice twilight, isn't it?" he said, as he's staring at the vanishing sun. "I have taken my decision, brat," Zabuza growled, blatantly ignoring the blonde's attempt at beginning a polite conversation about the weather. "I will follow you." The teenager raised his eyebrows. "Why? Don't fuck with me," the man spat. "You perfectly know why. To avenge Kisame, and for Haku's well-being. You know, getting pursued by 3 power-hungry SS-rank ninjas is not good for a young woman like her," Kazama pointed out. "Her chances of survival are low, just as they were when she helped me fight the Yondaime Mizukage," the man replied. "In terms of dangerous missions, we have seen worse. But Haku has only a few people she holds dear to her heart. Your sister is her only friend now that Kimimaro is dead. You have met her once in another Earth. You can understand her. What will happen if, or rather when I die? Haku needs emotional anchors beside me. I'm probably going to die before her, and she deserves to have someone that will be at her side, no matter what." The blonde blinked. "I see. Damn, if someone had told me that I would see Zabuza's soft side one day." However, Zabuza growled menacingly. "If one word of this conversation ever comes out, I know you're going to kill me," Kazama said. "I will keep it a secret, I promise." The missing nin nodded in approval. "Nice sword that you have," he said, changing subject. "The Kusanagi?" The blonde wondered. "Yes, it's cool, but you suck at swordsmanship," Zabuza stated. "You're using it in the worst way possible. However, there might be hope. Tomorrow morning, I want you and Kisame's successor to be ready for intensive training. We are not going to beat this Amaterasu asshole if you stay that weak." "Thank you. I'm only trying to erase the disgrace to swordsmanship that you both are," the man shot back. You are a humiliation to all of those that wielded these blades, and I will have to wash away their honor. Thanks a lot for that. Say that to Orochimaru. After this conversation, Kazama left with Kakashi's dinner. He hadn't shown up to eat, and it worried the blonde. After everything that happened to the man, Kazama feared for his health, and especially his sanity. Opening the man's bedroom, the teenager found him sitting on a chair, looking at an object in his hands. The jounin was holding a knife, pointed toward his belly. Reacting quickly, Kazama used the shunshin to appear right before the man, and grabbed the weapon before he could finish his morbid act. Kakashi didn't even struggle, nor look at the blonde. He was simply lost in his thoughts, staring at the floor as if it was going to swallow him. Are you mad? Kazama snarled. Do you realize what you were going to do? The jounin stayed silent a moment. I was going to end it all, by committing suicide? The teen asked, mesmerized. Kakashi, killing yourself won't bring your team back. The man stiffened. I have failed them, just I have failed everyone I loved. He began to cry. I have failed again. Kazama was taken aback by the spectacle. He had never seen his old teacher reacting like that. They are dead because of me. Kakashi sobbed. Obito, Rin, Minato, and now Sakura, Sasuke and Naruto, and so many more, they have lost their life, because I wasn't strong enough. The teen put his hand on the man's left shoulder. My friend, you couldn't do anything. If I had been a better teacher, he trailed off. If I had abandoned the mission as soon as it became obvious it was so damn dangerous. Kazama bit his lower lip. We all make mistakes. I have done more than you could ever possibly imagine, the man whispered before eyeing the knife. The world wandered immediately hid it in his pocket. Kakashi, I don't know your life story, but if you're willing to commit suicide, it must be pretty bad, the blonde said. You don't have to keep your burden for yourself, you have friends to help you, to listen to you. He sat next to the jounin, on the bed. Why don't you explain me why you are so troubled? The man stayed silent for a few seconds, taking away his tears with his hand. I am the son of Tsukumo Hatake, the white fan of Konoha, he began, one of the greatest ninja of Konoha, and of his wife, Hikari, who died in childbirth. I was considered a genius, graduated early, and had a loving father, until his reputation crumbled. Why? If he was so strong, during an important mission, the jounin explained, he chose to save his teammates instead of sacrificing them to accomplish his goal. When he returned, he was a disgrace, even in the eyes of those he had saved. Kazama snorted in disgust. Ungrateful bastards, somehow, it remembers me of a Jinchuriki's situation. Kakashi nodded sadly. But unlike you, my father couldn't live with this hate. One day, he decided to end it all. He committed seppuku, while I was at school. I was the first one to find the corpse. Before the blonde could say anything, the jounin wavered his hand. He was a coward. A coward that took the easy way, and who, in his blind despair, left me alone in a cruel world. Now, I see his qualities, and know that he did the right thing in saving his friends, but for most of my childhood, I hated him with passion. Since I was still a child, the Hokage assigned me a ward. Kakashi's eyes flared with hate. Ayatsuri Kenta, he spat with scorn. The teenager stiffened. I heard Madara speaking this name. He was a jounin of Konoha, Kakashi said angrily. He was in charge of an orphanage, for the children whose parents had died during the shinobi wars. He was a well-known philanthropist, and respected, but it was simply a mask. In reality, he was a monster. A psychopath. Kazama frowned. He hurt you badly, did he? He twisted me, the man declared. For years, he trained me to be a killer who followed the rules at all costs. Because of him, I became the ideal of the ninja, an emotionless tool without any goal beyond the mission. Your father, Minato Namikaze, saw that Kenta's treatment was unhealthy after working alongside me, and successfully convinced the Sandaime to take me away from the bastard. Minato became my ward, and assigned me to his team. I assumed Kenta wasn't happy. Kakashi's look darkened. I was his toy, his greatest success, and he didn't want to share. He tried to recuperate me legally, but once the Hokage refused, he turned to more extreme ways. He closed his eyes. After being promoted to jounin, I was ordered to destroy a bridge during the Third Great Shinobi War, with my teammates, a kunoichi coming from a civilian family named Rin, and my best friend, Obito Uchiha. Kenta became informed of it, and contacted our enemies, the ninjas from Iwagakure. In exchange for info, he tasked them to bring me alive to him. Kazama's eyes flared with anger. This man was willing to betray his home simply to get his tool back. They complied, sort of. They captured Rin, and tried to lay a trap, but at the time I was a total asshole, the man sneezed. I wanted to leave her to whatever fate our enemies had in mind for her, and accomplish the mission. Obito, on the other hand, attempted to save her, on his own, saying that Tsukumo was a hero and that I was worse than trash for leaving my friend to die and spitting on my father's grave. I realized later that he was right, and rushed at his help, attacking our enemy's lair. His eyes were empty, as if he had left reality for a dream. During the fight, an Iwanin tried to bury us underground. Obito sacrificed his life to save me, and Rin transplanted his Sharingan to replace my own destroyed eye. This is how you obtained the Sharingan. The blonde gasped. And I, though the Uchiha were all assholes. Yes. The Jounin looked at the window. During the fight, I fell unconscious, but the enemies didn't kill me, keeping me alive for Kenta. Rin, they molested her. Minato came to save her from death, but she was barely the shadow of her former self after her traumatic experience. I lost 2 of my dearest people because of Ayatsuri's schemes, Kakashi sighed. After an investigation, Konoha found proofs of Ayatsuri's betrayal, and I was sent with Minato at Kenta's orphanage to arrest him. Unfortunately, he had predicted this outcome and bravely fled. It's only when we interrogated the personnel that we realized that his activities were far more terrible than we all thought. Kakashi locked eyes with Kazama. He gathered the orphans from destroyed villages, officially to help them, but officiously to brainwash them. He tortured them, transformed them into loyal dogs. Those who could fight were sent to the front lines, and those who couldn't were used as prostitutes to fund Kenta's activities. The blonde paled in disgust. When I saw those kids, Kakashi whispered, my Sharingan memorized their expressions. These broken shells, these 10-years-old whores, these insane soldiers unable to recognize love. I remember them all. They are always in my mind. This is the curse of the Sharingan, being unable to forget. Most Uchiha go insane after watching more than 10 battles, and those who don't aren't generally the most sociable people around. In some twisted way, this can explain why Sasuke and Madara are so fucked up in their head, Kazama thought. The first saw his family getting killed in his brother's illusion, and simply can't let it go. The second survived through multiple wars, witnessing horrors all the time and being unable to erase his memories of them. Seriously, the Sharingan's downsides are terrible. After that, Kenta vanished for years. The searches ended, as most people believed he had died. In the meantime, I helped Rin overcome her traumatic memories, and we grew to love each other. Our relationship ceased to be platonic, and she became pregnant with my son, a short time after the Kyuubi's attack. Kazama's jaw dropped. You have a child? Kakashi glared at him. I had one. He closed his eyes again. It was during her late pregnancy that Kenta returned, or at least his spawns. Brainwashed children showed up in multiple towns, infiltrating families, before assassinating them, apparently just for the thrill. I investigated, and discovered that their objective was simply to attract me away from Rin. When I rushed back at our home, she had vanished. I tried to find her trace, but even Packet didn't succeed. 1 month later, I received a special gift. Kakashi raised his eyelids and cried. A dead baby? Kazama couldn't say anything. Horror had paralyzed him. My son, the Jounin confirmed. Strangled to death by Kenta himself, right before Rin's eyes, while he was only a week old. Ayatsuri kept him alive for so long uniquely to better break her. With the corpse, there was a letter, where Kenta invited me to Rin's execution, at an abandoned castle. I came, with an ANBU team. They fought the bastard's henchmen and mercenaries, and I infiltrated his lair alone. What I found inside was so unspeakably atrocious that no word will ever be able to describe what Kenta had done in his basement. Kakashi locked eyes with Kazama. He tried to recreate me. He trained children to be like you? The blonde asked weakly. No, the man shook his head. He didn't try to create someone like me. He tried to recreate me. He tried to make another Kakashi Hatake. By modifying children's bodies so they looked exactly as me, and he almost succeeded, after a lot of failures. I saw a boy whose face had been mutilated because they weren't like mine. I saw kids chained to table, suffering from infections and the after effects of Kenta's operations. I saw incomplete copies of me, breed in test tubes, or baby left to rot, because they weren't perfect copies of me. The demon vessel was now repressing the urge to vomit. When I finally reached Kenta, he greeted me by showing me Rin's body. Kakashi sobbed. She had died the day before, tortured to death. Her disfigured corpse. I still remember it too well. I attacked Kenta to avenge her, and during our battle, he revealed me his goal, to fix me. After failing to recreate a perfect ninja, the monster decided to remake me as I was before, by destroying everything I loved. I killed him. Slowly. Painfully. But he simply smiled. He thought he had succeeded. He stared at the floor. After that, I buried Rin and my unnamed son in a remote forest, near the house we had bought, the place where we thought we could have founded a family. Kazama stayed silent. After that, I don't know what happened. I lost the will to live. I took the deadliest assignments possible, all of the time, hoping that maybe, one day, one enemy would get lucky and kill me. He sneezed sadly. Unfortunately, I suck at dying. I hadn't even the courage to end it all myself. The Jounin closed his eyes. After years of successful suicides missions in the ANBU, the Sandames suspended me from my duties, and ordered me to take Gen in teams. I failed them all, fearing they would one day die and join the many people dead because of me, until I met Team 7. I saw my sensei's son, Obito's cousin, and the Yandame's legacy. How could I have resisted the need to make things straight again? How could I have resisted the need to redeem myself in the eyes of those I hadn't been able to protect? Kazama had no answer to this. But now, I have failed at that again, Kakashi said. Life has once again given me the middle finger. So, please, respect my wish, and let me do what I had never mustered the courage to try. Kakashi, I'm tired of living, the man cut through the teen's worries. I have lost everything I lived for. Now, what do I have left? Us. The Jounin frowned. We will never be able to replace the people you have lost, Kazama stated. But you can always, I don't know, find a home and a family with us. If you die, our chances to win against our pursuers will drop. The ones that caused so much suffering are going to escape justice. But as long as there is life, there is hope. You can restart your life from scratch, find a new family, maybe see your loved ones again, in another universe. The possibilities are endless. He locked eyes with the broken man. You have a chance to search happiness again. Please, do not waste it. Kakashi stayed without word for a few minutes. Naruto-san, do you really think so? Of course I do. The teen affirmed. Never give up is my motto. I do not have the same willpower as you, the Jounin said. I am sorry, but I don't. Kakashi, however, the man interrupted him. You are right. I am selfish. You have saved me multiple times, and I am being ungrateful. He trailed off. I will stick with you, and help you as much as I can. It might not be much, but I will do my best not to hinder you. You never did that, Kakashi, Kazama replied. And you are always welcome. The Jounin seemed to smile under his mask, albeit only slightly. Thank you then, it's natural, the prince. Are you sure? His mother asked to the group. I mean, you are going to face them alone. Certain, Kazama replied. It is between them and us. A battle will only bring more deaths and suffering, but not if we can avoid it. And who knows how they would react, if they ever realize that there is a new successor to the Senju. You will have enough problems in time with the citizens of this universe. Rather, enjoy your life and happiness. But what are you going to do? Naruto asked. I mean, fleeing is only a temporary solution. They will track you down one day. We will train, Naruto answered evenly. Train, until we are able to keep up with them. She looked at her oldest counterpart. Nara-sensei, I want to work with you like never before. Please, okay, the blonde said. I intended to do so anyway. This will be the occasion of testing your abilities, Kazama-san, Cesori pointed out. We do not know anything about your seal's possible limits and applications. It might contain the secret of our victory against the Uchiha. Perhaps, the teen complied. But how do you want to study my seal's powers? The puppeteer smirked. I have my own ways. Also, Kakashi began. Before we leave this universe, I have something to ask. Cesori, do you still have my students' corpses? The puppeteer nodded. You want to give them a funeral? Yes, he confirmed. For them, and Sakura, even if it's only symbolical. I mean, they can't rest peacefully without it. The puppeteer put his fingers together. I think we can do much more than that. The Ice Princess. The lake was big and the water pure. In some way, it looked like the place where Kazama's group had fought Sabuza and Kisame for the first time. The moonlight was reflecting on the liquid surface, making it shine beautifully. Lightened candles were floating on the water. They were many, and of different colors. Names were engraved on them. Kisame, Sakura, Tsunami, Inari, Tazuna, Kimimaro, and many more. All the regretted people that died at the Land of Waves, known or not. Chibaku and Cesori added one with the name of Kabuto on it, eyeing it sadly as it went to join the rest. On two little embarkations made of wood, the partially restored bodies of Kakashi's students were floating without a sound. Putting his hands together, the Jounin breathed fire on them. The flames consumed them, allowing their soul to rest. The assembled ninjas stood still, silently observing the spectacle. Even if they had been once enemies, Zabuza and Kakashi were still united in mourning. Haku herself was standing beside Naruto and her counterparts. A bit away, the Senju matriarch was observing the scene with her apprentice and her son. After 1 minute, the silence ended, and Kitsune stared at Haku and Zabuza. "Are you sure you want to follow us?" her master snickered. "Little boy, do you really think I'm going to forget what happened to Kisame? I will wash his honor with Amaterasu's blood. That, and I hope to see something specific in another world. May I ask what?" "No, a free Kirigakure," Haku thought. "A land of water that isn't ravaged by racism and pointless cruelty." Zabuza-sama's vision, a land of water freed from the name of bloody mist. Kazama then stared at the ice user. "And you?" "I will follow Zabuza-sama until the end," the young lady replied firmly. "That, and I hope I will meet my mother alive somewhere." "Then it's settled," the blonde boy stated. "Welcome to the Erasure clan." Haku bowed respectfully, while Zabuza only grunted. "Why Erasure? The Momochi clan sounds better." "Hell, no!" Chibaku groaned. "The Erasure clan is much, much cooler," Zabuza sneezed. "Guys, even the Ramen clan sounds cooler," Kakashi snickered. "You know what? I think that the Hatake clan is much better than any of your options." "It sucks. It's the most crappy name I've ever had." "Seriously, no. Just no." Why not the Kyuubi clan, Kitsune?" "I'm afraid to say that, but my Bijou is actually agreeing with you, and that's why we can't take it." Chibaku grinned malevolently. "I'm not a Jinchuriki, and proud of it," Zabuza pointed out. "Me too," Kakashi said. "So the Hatake clan is still the best option." "Never!" they all shouted. "Never say never, gentlemen, please," Cesori said as he interrupted the debate. "This argument is completely pointless." Haku nodded, happy to hear that at least some of them had common sense. "Because, obviously, you can't deny that the Cesori clan is the best name possible." The ice lady repressed the urge to groan as the others glared furiously at the puppeteer, before loudly voicing their disagreement. "Naru-sensei," Naruto said, blatantly ignoring the stupid debate. "May I ask you something from you?" Kazama blinked. "But of course. What do you need?" "The next time that you have to name something, don't forget to add Naruto to it. It will prevent this kind of debate, since it's the most awesome name of all." Haku put her hand on her face, and Kazama only smirked. He then stared at Tsunade's group, slightly bowing. "I assume it's time to say goodbye. Thank for your help. The knowledge you gave us on Akatsuki and Orochimaru was a big enough payment," the Senju matriarch replied. "Take care of yourself, Gaki, and look over your family for me, especially Naruto." "Don't worry," the girl smiled. "I'll be fine. It's just that I already saw you die once," the woman declared. "I simply hope you won't meet the same fate." "I will protect her," Kazama promised. "No matter the cost." "Then, you have my blessings." "I'm sure they will succeed in defeating their pursuers," Shizen said. "They have a strong will, and they're strong." "Really?" the Senju boy asked with a mirthful smile. "Or is it just your crush on Kazama-san that's talking?" The young woman became as red as a tomato, and embarrassment spread over Kazama's face. "Naruto-kun, what?" "I'm only telling the truth," the wood user declared, before locking eyes with his eldest counterpart. "You must understand her. She's still a bit worried about not having found a boyfriend at her age. You should have seen where she making a pass at that son." The blushing medic put her hands on the boy's mouth, preventing him from continuing. "So sorry. He's always indiscreet and shameless." The blonde teenager grinned warmly. "He reminds me of myself at the same age. I hope you will find love one day, Shizen-san." "Thank you," she said with a little smile. "Anyway," he said, "it's time to leave." He rotated and eyed his companions. "Prepare for the travel. Momochi clan, in your dreams, Hatake forever," Haku finally snapped. "Oh please, shut the hell you." And in flash of light they vanished from this world, never to return. The prince. 3 days after his counterpart's departure, a blonde boy screamed in his sleep. "Naruto!" His mother took him in her arms. "Calm yourself. What's going on? They not natural." The forests of the Land of Fire were screaming. They have come. The empty ones are here. They are 3, and they are evil, Mom. Naruto trailed off. I think our friend's pursuers have just arrived. Even Tsunade's gaze wasn't as frightening as the crazed howls of the plants. The void is looking at us, observing us. It will destroy everything, until nothing but itself remains. The darkness are growing, and they are empty. The void is coming, and will consume everything. The darkness are eyeing us, and they are going to devour us. The deceiver, Tsukiyomi. Madara was staring at the breach in space, before a beautiful lake. Not that he cared about the background. Only the damaged fabric of reality intrigued him. From what I have observed, the Uchiha said to his 2 counterparts as they materialized behind him, they have left this world days before our coming. The leftover candles and bodies have been burning for a long time. He turned on himself to face them. What about our counterpart? Dead, Susanoo stated. I violated the mind of ninjas present during the Kyuubi's attack. He has been killed by Hashirama's granddaughter, Madara frowned. This is unfortunate. It's the second time we are dead in the multiverse. We should stop worrying about recruiting our alternate selves, Amaterasu declared. The man was now wielding Itachi's eyes, and was comfortable with them. I mean, we are already strong enough to pawn our praise without any help, and they are going to distance us. I agree with you, the Rinnegan wielder said. We are wasting a precious time. The more we spend our days trying to find people that may or may not be dead, the more our enemies are going to prepare themselves and increase their strength. Tsukiyomi blinked. Okay. Anyway, we can always recruit them by traveling backward, after finding Uzumaki Naruto. Some might even follow us, who knows, he smirked, as an idea came to his mind. In fact, I have even an idea to bolster our number, without recruiting anyone. The 2 others looked at him strangely. My Nagato had developed a very interesting technique, Tsukiyomi explained, as he looked at the burned corpses he had extracted from the lake. The 6 paths of pain. Really, this chase would be very interesting. Chapter 13. Asking for troubles. Kitsune was in a dark cave. The walls were leaking water, and a red smoke was burning his lungs. In front of him was a large cage made of stony pillars and covered with complex seals. On the center of the structure was a large lock with a sheet of paper on it, keeping the voices imprisoned. Behind, 3 pair of eyes were staring at the boy, each radiating with malevolence, sadism, and cruelty. You have finally come, Vessel, a 3-tailed white fox declared with a monotone voice. He was wearing a blue, expressionless mask. We were waiting for you. He seemed polite, but Kitsune knew it was only an illusion. Under this apparent civility, there was only a heart of stone. You have broken the deal, another 3-tailed fox, gray this time, added with a falsely happy tone. He was wearing a yellow mask, looking like a smirking human face. You little piece of shit. The last 3-tailed fox roared madly. He was black, with a red, demon-like mask. You dare to betray us? I didn't do anything, Kitsune protested. The voices had gone silent after the beating Amaterasu had given him, and he had foolishly hoped they had vanished forever. Liar! The black one shouted, and a powerful headache made Kitsune fall helplessly on his back. The white fox stayed motionless, while the gray one seemed to delight in his vessel's suffering. You have allowed an impure being to help you, while you promised us your eternal devotion and fidelity in exchange for our power. You were already close to breaking our deal when you joined this Arisher clan, but now you took this fish with you. You must love only us. The black one shouted. Only we are real. We gave you the power, the fear, and the revenge you craved so much. And you discarded us. Do you have any idea of how powerful we are? The white one declared emotionlessly, while it stared at Kitsune as if he was some kind of vermin. We have no beginning, and we have no end. We are the 3 faces of a demon, the expression of your madness, and the embodiment of your will. It looked at his black brother, the rage. It stared at his gray self, the selfishness. It touched its torso, the pride. Together, we have shattered mountains, the pride continued. We have burned forests, vaporized seas, unleashed tsunami, and brought down empires. In your insanity and isolation, you split us and infected us with your insanity and inner desires, making us stronger, more intelligent, and given us individuality, a goal and a purpose. We have become one, and we have cohabited in perfect harmony. We have roared with you, and killed with you. We have offered you a chance to join us, to become one of the faces, an aspect of the Kyuubi, the selfishness declared. We offered you power, revenge, and company, in exchange for freedom and feelings. You were supposed to love us, and only us, to rely on us, and only us, to fight with us, and only us. And yet, you betrayed us for mere humans. You abandoned us. The rage roared. You and this fish contain us here. We are not as free as we were. The world hasn't burned yet. This is intolerable. You will not backstab us, and why not? Kitsune declared as he rose up, determined to stand courageously before his eternal tormentors. You betrayed me first. You forced me to kill innocent people. There is no such thing as an innocent, the pride replied with a smug tone that could put a human noble to shame. Only different degrees of guilt. All sinners must be punished. Punishment brings fear, and fear always brings control. You were jealous of them, the selfishness declared with an insidious voice. You wanted to torture them. It's wrong! The demon vessel shouted, crying as the headache returned. He put his hands on his temples, but the voices didn't stop. It's true! The rage roared. You begged us to punish them. You hated those kids for having what you didn't have. You hated the Hokage for defending the Hyuga. You hated everything, and you craved for aimless destruction. You are a part of us, the selfishness quickly added. Your desires were and still are the same as our own. You created us, and you haven't destroyed us. Even if you refuse to admit it, subconsciously, you still need us. You are still one piece of the puzzle. You are simply another face of a greater being. Vessel, the pride continued, and we will not allow the rebellion of one aspect. You will become one with us once again, and give the world the suffering it deserves. Our tyranny shall be renowned, and the humans will cower in fear before us, as they have done before. Kitsune glared at them. Never! I won't let you control me again. I won't let you hurt my friends, the three snorted. You can't compete with us, the selfishness sneered. We are you. We are the real you. We are all powerful. The rage screamed. We will destroy what you hold dear, the world, and everything that is not us. As long as we exist, we are not powerless, the pride finished, as the cave began to be filled with light. As long as there will be desires inside of your heart, we will control you. As long as your mind will stay shattered, we will live on. And Kitsune brutally awakened, as someone threw a whole bucket of cold water on his face. Shocked and disoriented, the boy ended up locking eyes with his aggressor. Zabuza had one hell of a scary, sadistic gaze. Good morning, little fish, he said with joyful glee. It is time to begin your training. Kitsune simply cringed, briefly hesitating between running away and obeying. Not that the older swordsman left him any chance. The gatherer, why did you summon us? The rage screamed with a crazed voice. We were about to give the last aspect a lesson he so deeply deserves. Antagonizing your vessel is harmful in the long term to all of us, the Kyuubi replied calmly from behind his cage. You are not on a position of force yet. Waiting is for the weak. The rage shouted. He must scream. Enough, the pride ordered with its ever monotone tone. His punishment will come in due time, but not now. I assumed that you didn't gather us for something this trivial. No, it was for a poker party, the Kyuubi behind the portrait deadpan. Of course it's important. Shut your mouth. Please calm down, the Kyuubi behind the cage declared. 1 minute, and already a dispute? It had called upon all its counterparts to discuss something important, but if they were simply going to kill each other, well, they were tailed beasts, after all, even if they were as fragmented and corrupted as the trio lurking in Kitsune's mind. If a container could affect its tenant to such extent, the Kyuubi in Naruto was worrying about its sanity. These futilities are for humans, and certainly not for superior beings like us. I agree, the pride replied, while making a sign to the selfishness. The gray fox put its paws on the rage's mouth, preventing it from speaking, much to its fury. I will talk for the three of us, other we. Can't we find nicknames instead? The portrait Kyuubi snorted. Our containers did, and it's apparently useful. Heck, even the Uchiha did. The pride didn't even blink. We already have names. You heard us talk to our container, so you know how we define us. Then we will choose our own names, the caged Kyuubi declared. Being the cause of this reunion, I will take the alias of the gatherer. The demon in the portrait sneered. And what am I supposed to call myself? The nicknamer? The stares of his counterparts only made it sigh. You gotta be kidding me. The matter is settled, the gatherer announced. Now we can begin our first conclave. The topic will be, well, this, it said, as he gazed into the direction of the man nicknamed Kazama's mindscape. The others imitated it, slowly turning their head toward the darkness. A web of mirrors was shifting, surrounded by a beautiful, clear sea. But above it, a nightly sky full of stars, which was slowly but surely expanding, darkening Kazama's mindscape more and more with each passing second. At the center of this sky, there was an immense and brilliant purple sun, radiating with what could only be called pure malevolence. As they stared into it, the different Kyuubi felt an evil, domineering, and insidious will watching back. They quickly moved their eyes in another direction, before being completely enthralled by the sentient luminary. A Matsumi Kaboshi, the pride whispered in horror and dread, its arrogance having been instantly overwhelmed by survival instinct. The selfishness was shaking, and even the rage had fallen silent. The nicknamer eyed the sinister star the longest, before gazing at its counterparts with a mix of fear and seriousness. Now you understand why I convoked you, the gatherer said. I noticed its presence only recently, but it has been infiltrating Kazama's mind for some time. I think that Madara is somehow responsible for this disaster in waiting. How is it possible? The pride wondered, terrified. A Matsumi Kaboshi is a deity, a dark, primordial force, an entity predating creation itself. A mere human shouldn't be even attract its attention, let alone tap into its power. It is entirely possible, the nicknamer said. As long as it corrupts something, a Matsumi Kaboshi shouldn't care less about who is using it, or for what. And really, Mikaboshi is pure nothingness. It doesn't really think or plan, it simply is. Madara probably found a way to create links with it, harnessing the power for his own ends. I doubt he even understands what a Matsumi Kaboshi really is, the gatherer added. He is using a fuel without knowing its composition and origin. It does explain many things about that cursed Uchiha, the selfishness realized. If he can harness the dark force's power of control, then it can probably impose his domination over our minds. The gatherer nodded. No normal Sharingan should be able to hypnotize us. The Mokuton can, because we are part of nature, but the Sharingan is just a mutated eye. But if it is enhanced by the curses of the august star of heaven, that's why he's immortal. The nicknamer shouted. And that's why he can control space. A Matsumi Kaboshi can bend the rules of the universe in its favor, if not outright ignore them when it suits its needs. Do you all realize what it means? The pride asked. If the dark force is involved, then it can't be good, for any of us. The one time the kami of the stars got involved itself, it almost caused Earth to end. Whatever are its intentions, its presence is only synonymous with doom and oblivion. I suggest we kill Mikaboshi's vessel before he turns into an avatar of the dark force, the selfishness declared. Or worse, learns to harness its power and uses it to control us. We refuse to be controlled again. The rage roared, as it broke free of its other aspects for strains. We must prevent the rise of another Madara. So, the nicknamer said, we all agree to murder the human at the first opportunity. The gatherer shook its head. There is another option. One that might even benefit us in the long term, he added with a sly smirk. All the Kyuubi stared at it. What possibility do you have in mind? The selfishness asked. Waiting and observing, the gatherer explained. I don't know how exactly this link, curse, or whatever works, but it's obviously in its early development. By watching the process, we might discover how Madara's powers works, and if we can counter them. You really think it's possible to exploit and resist the power of the very embodiment of control and oblivion? The nicknamer wondered. That is insane. The frontier between genius and madness is very thin, the pride declared. I agree with the gatherer. The dark force might be undefeatable by those on our level of existence, but its users aren't. Learning how they use Mikaboshi might be the key to prevent the Uchiha from ever controlling us again. The risk is too great. The selfishness shouted. Better kill the vessel, instead of leaving the void grow inside his heart. Are you afraid? The rage asked. Are you terrified of the august star? We should all be, the nicknamer said. Have you forgotten that it is because of its influence that our original being became corrupted? Have you forgotten that it was to purge the Ten-Tails from its influence that the sage had split us, to prevent the total destruction of the worlds, since Mikaboshi's existence is apparently multiversal? Mankind brought it upon itself. The rage roared angrily. Their despair, hate, and desire for death and oblivion overwhelmed the mother's mind, allowing Mikaboshi to corrupt it. It doesn't change the fact that a Matsumi Kaboshi is something that can and wants to either control or destroy entire universes, the nicknamer snarled. The decision to allow it to screw with another being must be taken with utmost seriousness. The decision is even more important, since Kazama can travel between others' plans of existence. Do you realize that we are potentially giving the August Star an ultimate weapon? We all know what the Dark Force is capable of, the Gatherer declared. And that's why I think we should observe it from afar, in hope of finding a way to counter it. We won't have another chance, But Madara will have many more. I agreed, the pride added. As long as the human isn't completely corrupted by Mikaboshi's curse or doesn't harness it, we do not risk anything. Then it's settled, the rage barked. The vessel will live. The selfishness seemed uneasy with the decision, but did not say anything. Do we inform the humans? The nicknamer asked. No, the gatherer said. When Mikaboshi has cursed someone, there is no way of removing it from the soul, or, at least, we don't know any way to do that. It would be useless to inform Kazama, and cause unknown developments. We should stay silent, for the time being. Does anybody have another question? The pride asked, and the rest shook their heads. Then I assume we have nothing to say anymore. The gatherer nodded. This reunion is then finished. We will stay in contact for any new event. The traveler, Kazama, barely avoiding being beheaded by Zabuza's blade, Kazama took a step back, before cutting his teacher in half, or rather, trying. The swordsman parried absent-mindedly with his blade, seeming almost bored from the look in his eyes. Your sword is made for fencing, aka stabbing people, he grunted. It isn't big or heavy enough to slash or smash people. At best, you will inflict only minor wounds by doing so. You must focus, be fast, and give your enemy a precise, deadly blow, by targeting the 8 sensible points. You must be like a snake. It's not my fault if I have only seen Orochimaru use his blade's piercing ability. The World Wanderer then tried to pierce the Kirinin's chest. A tired and very bruised Kitsune observed them from the sidelines, under a tree. Too slow, Zabuza declared as he stepped to the side. Too predictable. He deflected another attack with his own weapon. Not precise enough. Not enough close. Your stance is too rigid. Be more swift, damn it! Target the vital points, instead of my shoulders. Protect your legs. Keep your balance. A bit higher. Lower. Try the sides. Do not attack this place ever. I need it for recreation time. At the end, Kazama didn't even wound Zabuza once. He ended up sitting on the ground, panting heavily under the cold gaze of the missing Nin. You are pathetic, he declared harshly. A novice. Still, you are better than the little fish. At least you can swing your sword, sort of. Kitsune glared at the sadistic man. Samahata came to lick his hand, trying to console him, which made Zabuza snicker. I meant every word I said. You both are total morons, and it will take time to make you passable, a very, very long time. So get up. The two blonde immediately obeyed. Boys, the warm-ups are finished. Now, we begin the real training, the duo cringed. This was just a warm-up. Kazama wondered. He's even crazier than Lee-sensei. Fortunately, salvation came in the form of a familiar gray-haired man. Here you are, guys. Kakashi shouted upon entering the clearing. I was looking for you, Zabuza frowned. What do you want, Hataki? He asked distrustfully. Still as friendly as ever, Zabuza, the Jounin replied sarcastically. Well, I would like to know if I could borrow Kazama-san for a while. I wanted to teach him Advanced Elemental Man. Yes. Kazama shouted, grateful for an opportunity to escape the hell that was training with Zabuza. No! Zabuza answered, crushing the blonde's hopes. He sucks so much at swordsmanship that simply watching him wielding the Kusanagi makes me sick. Correcting his many, many flaws is a holy duty for me. You're making too much of a big deal of this. Kakashi sighed. I just need him for a day. It's very important, and having only one student will help you focus on him for longer periods of time so he can progress further. Kitsune's eyes widened in horror when Zabuza seemed to ponder the Jounin's words. Well, he does suck even more, he trailed off, before apparently reaching a decision. All right, take the brat for the day. It should be enough to put them on the same level, if you can call that a level. Good. Kakashi smiled as he grabbed Kazama's shoulder. We should leave quickly before he changes his mind, he whispered to the blonde's ear, who was readily agreeing. The duo left as fast as they could, sending a look full of compassion toward Kitsune. The boy had gone pale, and Zabuza was apparently licking his lips under his mask, eyeing the blonde like some kind of prey. Thank you? The World Wanderer wept happily, as they stopped before a large rock. It's nothing, Kakashi replied. Where are the rest of us? I slept in late, tired as hell after using too much chakra, so when I looked around everyone was off doing their own thing. Haku is currently teaching Naruto how to use Senbon as weapons, Kazama explained. The two had become very close, so much that he had mercilessly teased them about being on an unofficial date, much to their embarrassment. Cesori and Chibaku are currently infiltrating Konoha, to see if my counterpart is abused or not. He hoped he, Or she wasn't, but he wasn't so optimistic, even if there was at least one happy Naruto in the multiverse. Kakashi nodded in understanding. So, whether or not we will recruit him, we leave this world before night, that's right? Yes, the teen answered. It will stay like that for a long while, to prevent the Madara from tracking us down. Their travel takes longer than our own. The more worlds between them and us, the longer it will take for them to reach us. It's possible? The Jounin raised his eyebrows. Even teleporting once is already a feat, doing that multiple times in quick succession. I don't know if it can work. Cesori is supposed to help me make tests, but only when he returns. The teen wondered how they could do that, but the puppeteer had already negated Susanoo's superhuman abilities after only witnessing them once. He had a plan in mind, or at least Kazama hoped so. What do you want to teach me? Well, from what I've gleaned, you have completed the exercises to control Chakra's shape, and to develop a wind affinity, Kakashi explained. I'm going to teach you how to use yours in combination with the Rasengan, and perhaps to increase your normal abilities. The World Wanderer raised an eyebrow, Orochimaru's words resonating in his mind. Someone told me once that my faith, the Yandame's jutsu, was incomplete. The word left a bitter taste in his mouth, as if it was a loathsome insult. Kakashi briefly blinked, before correcting his expression. Yes, it is. Minato-sensei never finished it, but I'm sure you will. The basis is to infuse the Rasengan with your wind chakra, manipulating the element of the sphere, as well as its shape. Basically, it's what I do with the Chidori. He stared at the rock. Once you think you've created a wind Rasengan, slam it on this. If it is done well, the traces should be sharp, precise, and ordered. If it is imperfect, my Sharingan should be able to notice the flaws. Kazama nodded, before remembering something. Kakashi, before we begin, might I ask you some questions? Of course. About what? The teen bit his lips. About Kenta. The reaction was immediate. The man scowled, his gaze hardening. What do you want to know about him? He spat the word with a mix of hatred and disgust. Some elements ticked me off, during your story, he replied. How could his atrocities stay unnoticed by the authorities for so long? Why didn't anybody discover that half of his orphanage was a brothel, and the other a training camp for young killers? Why didn't the children crack and reveal his actions? Why had he been allowed to make Jounin if he was this psychopathic? I mean, it's obvious that he was very messed up in his head. Somebody, anybody, should have seen him for what he really was. Oh, but they did, Kakashi said darkly. Nobody is able to conceal such activities alone. Kenta had connections in Konoha's institutions who closed their eyes on his profession in exchange for money or some of the children, depending on whether they liked gold, flesh, or assassins. Those who did want to bring him to justice generally ended up being killed in action in mysterious circumstances or were convinced to gently shut their mouth if they wanted their family to live. Kenta had no morals, no fetters, no code of conduct. He could and would do everything, go at any and all lengths, to save himself. The more I hear about this guy, and the more I think he's the worst person to have ever lived. And the people that helped him? Either executed or imprisoned for life, Kakashi replied. Kenta left before we could get to him, and we found many journals in his office, including the lists of his clients, helpers, or victims. The children were unable to say anything bad about Kenta. His brainwashing was so strong and thorough that they couldn't even remember their abuse, kills, or mistreatments. In their minds, they had grown up peacefully in the orphanage under the protection of their loved father figure, Ayatsuri Kenta. Some had become ninjas of Konoha, others had become merchants, and others, but none could remember what he had done to them, until the Yamanaka managed to unlock their memories. To be honest, most didn't want to remember. Their whole life had been a lie, and they preferred the illusion over reality. Even their friends and coworkers knew that something was wrong with them, but they were so delusional. He stared at the sky. Even me. I don't fully remember everything that he has done to me, but it was so nasty that I'm not sure I really want to get back all of my original memories. Kazama frowned sadly, but said nothing. About his psychopathic mindset, he was able to hide it well. He could fake affection like no one else, charm people easily, lie without any external sign. He was popular, and even had a girlfriend. You couldn't help but like him, until you realized that behind that veneer of civility, there was only sadism and cruelty. Most psychological evaluations, well, why do you think Sasuke has been allowed to enlist? Why me? Why Sakura, who was hiding terrible problems behind her fake smile? It was because there is no meaningful psychological evaluation, that's why. But Kazama trailed off, quite taken aback. The authorities can't ignore that. Of course they don't, Kakashi replied. But I think you gravely misunderstand a ninja village's mindset. Here, just about everyone has lost someone. Everyone is dysfunctional to some extent. When someone has problems, the answer is deal with it. Take Sasuke, he has lost his whole family. His idol has betrayed him, tortured him with an S-rank genjutsu, basically told him he was not even worth his time to kill, and advised him to hate him as much as he could. But as far as most people are concerned, it is something he has to deal with alone, to become though enough to be a ninja. That's crazy! Kazama shouted. I know! Kakashi snapped. But ninja villages run on this way of thinking. Normal people can't be ninja. Being a ninja means sacrificing your happiness and very sanity on the altar of war and bloodshed. Do you really think that you can serve as a ninja more than 10 years and stay sane? Ninja villages need cold, emotionless, immoral people that will do everything in order to accomplish the mission. Nothing less, nothing more. Kazama remained quiet, unable to truly think of how to argue against that logic. Take the ANBU, Kakashi continued. Most people think they're some kind of super soldiers, the proud defenders of the Hokage and of the village, the elite. Well, they are Konoha's black ops. They aren't chosen because of their skills, but because they are completely loyal to the leaf and have flexible moralities. Protecting the Hokage is only their official role. In reality, they accomplish acts that the public must never know about, like false flag operations, sabotage, spying on our own allies, supporting resistance movements in enemy countries, kidnapping. The ANBU mask has a special device in it, supposed to crush our face. Should we were to die with it, to protect our identity and prevent our victims from connecting the dots between Konoha and their own problems. Not because it's cool. He locked eyes with Kazama. I have done many things I'm not really proud of either, things that I hope you will never have to do. The ninja world isn't a nice place, Naruto. I know, the blonde replied, even if he had believed it was, before jumping worlds. Before his whole life had changed forever. Kakashi looked at the rock. Now enough talking. We have a jutsu to make, or else Sabuza is going to think I was just screwing with him, which I was. The puppet master, Cesori. Cesori knew he wasn't especially the kindest, nicest person around. Having been born and grown up in Sunagekure during the eras of war, Cesori had been recruited early in the ninja corps and became genin at 7. He was promoted to chunin a few years later after successfully poisoning an enemy platoon's water supplies, causing the death of around 50 people, thanks to his grandmother's precious teachings. One day later, his parents were murdered by the White Fang, Sakumo Hataki. His grandma, Chio, took him under her wing, teaching him puppetry. At first Cesori only saw the art as a way to gain the power necessary to one day kill his parents' murderer, but the man's suicide deprived him of that pleasure. He had still celebrated the news with his grandmother, and about the whole village, getting drunk for the first and only time in his life. It wasn't an experience he particularly liked, having done some disgusting stuff while under the alcohol's influence. Or so he was told the next morning. Before he reached 15, Cesori had become an expert at puppetry, creating multiple designs that allowed the rise of a whole cast of puppet users. The original puppeteers, the successors of his idol, the great Manzaemon Chikamatsu, were only using individual original and complex puppets that, while powerful, needed special treatments to stay utilizable. Cesori became a legend when he created basic designs of dummies that could later be customized while being repaired easily. Basically, he made puppetry accessible and affordable to everyone, allowing the rise of new talents that would have stayed ignored otherwise. But his glory and fame turned when the Sandaime Kazekage decided to label human puppetry, the new step in his art, as a kinjutsu. For Cesori, puppetry was to be done for puppetry's sake. It was an art, something that shouldn't be limited to human morals. So when Cesori had discovered a way to turn living people into living puppets, giving them a form of immortality and making them living masterpieces, he immediately came to see his leader and almost begged him to give him the funds necessary to develop the idea. If he had accepted, Cesori would have basically given death the middle finger, preventing the Shinigami from taking anyone ever again, and created a monument to eternity. Instead, the leader of the village confiscated Cesori's schematics, put him under supervision, forbade him to teach, and privately labeled him clinically insane. Unofficially, of course. For Sunagekure, the great puppeteer had simply retired for a while so he could work on another brilliant project. It was then that he understood that he had nothing to gain anymore by staying in the village. Evolving puppetry to a next level was a holy quest for the puppeteer, one that his former superiors had tried to hinder in their foolishness. They had betrayed him, so it was only justice he betrayed them in turn. After massacring the ANBU sent to watch him, he reclaimed what the Sandaime had stolen and left the village, leaving only a slashed forehead protector and a letter to Chio behind him. Soon after that, he ambushed the Sandaime while the man was training alone in the desert, challenging him to a duel for revenge and to prove once and for all puppetry's superiority over bloodline limits. In his pride and arrogance, the man accepted believing his iron sand to be invincible. He hadn't memorized the lessons taught in the academy, that so many people wielding invincible or unbeatable bloodlines and techniques died in battle against opponents that were considered harmless. True, most puppeteers were at a disadvantage against the iron sand wielder, as he could use the dust to jam up puppets and simply perform larger-scale ninjutsu than what most puppeteers could possibly dream of. But there was no such a thing as the impossible, and Cesori proved it this day by assassinating the Kazekage with his latest invention, nerve gas. As the previously unbeatable Sandaime Kazekage agonized before him, Cesori took off his cape, revealing his new mechanical body. His gas couldn't affect someone without a brain, making him immune to his own weapons and poisons. Only his heart was still made of flesh. It was unfortunately necessary. People's memories and identity weren't contained within the neurons, contrary to the popular belief, but within their chakra, the link between the soul and the body. The brain was simply the organ that commanded the others, and a puppet body had none. It only needed some seals to work. Taking the Kazekage's body to create another masterpiece, Cesori retired from society, gathering the funds needed for his studies by creating a private spy network and selling information to the highest bidder. The irony was that his own old village became one of his recurring clients. During the war, he unwillingly helped in starting when Sunagakure began to accuse all the nearby nations of having kidnapped or assassinated their leader. At least the war gave him large supplies of bodies to work on and the funds to do so for a while. It was during his travels after the war that he found Naruto, sleeping on a road in the land of fire. It was mostly curiosity that pushed him to examine the boy instead of simply ignoring him, an action that made him realize that he had just found a Jinchuriki, far away from any village. Intrigued, Cesori questioned the boy when he woke up, and after hearing how he had escaped from Konoha, the puppeteer jumped on the opportunity. Recruiting a willing Jinchuriki was not something that happened every day, and it would allow Cesori to study the boy's seal. Not once did he regret his decision. Naruto proved himself to be a very loyal and gifted person with multiple flourishing talents that only needed to be polished. Months of travel with him awakened something in Cesori. The boy had a spark in his eyes, one that the puppeteer knew too well. The thirst for knowledge, the desire to create new things, the will to explore the unexplored. The same spark that animated Cesori himself, and that had animated Kabuto, while he was alive. It was this spark that convinced Cesori to teach the blonde puppetry. Unlike Kabuto, who preferred medicine over mechanics, Naruto showed a deep interest in the art, and a great talent in it as well. Perhaps one day, he would be able to surpass Cesori himself, and complete his work. The great puppet master wasn't as arrogant as the Sandaime Kazekage, and knew that someone or something could one day kill him. Naruto was his contingency plan, his legacy. When Kazama and his female counterpart had showed up, Cesori had jumped on the chance to explore new worlds. How could he have resisted? The possibility of meeting doubles of himself that had evolved differently, other puppeteers, and perhaps even puppet masters better than himself was simply too tempting. If things had gone as planned, Cesori would have perhaps made his art evolve to another level once again. But then, the Uchiha attacked, killing Kabuto. Cesori wasn't an emotional person, but after spending years working with someone, you couldn't help but value and respect him. His death didn't really sadden Cesori, but rather angered him. Years of work and studies had been ended, the results of Kabuto's research stolen to be better used by one of his murderers. It was an insult that had to be washed away. His defeats and the threat of losing his legacy only hardened his resolve to one day find a way to kill their pursuers, even if he had to wait for years to do so. Even finding other puppeteers had become a secondary goal. No one pissed him off and lived to tell the tale about it. So, no, Cesori really wasn't a nice person. And yet, he couldn't help but feel inwardly happy when Kazama smiled at the photos the puppeteer had taken in Konohagakure. Empathy was still screwing with him again, no matter how hard he had tried to repress it in the past. So the Inuzuka adopted us? Kitsune asked. Yes, Chibaku said, as he stared at a picture of a Naruto riding on a large black dog and wearing facial markings. Apparently, he is Kiba's best buddy and a respected chunin. Some still dislike him for being a demon vessel, but he has friends, and a loving family. Cool dog! Naruto exclaimed. Why can't we have one? I had dog summons, Kakashi said. But apparently I can't call them anymore. Not cool, Chibaku said. I really want to be able to ride a dog like this in Izuka Naruto. It would be so badass. Anyway, Haku declared, while Chibaku was trapped in his fantasies, I assume it means we have nothing more to do in this world? Are we going to leave it? Yes, Kazama answered. As soon as possible, Cesori scoffed. This time, I will put some recording seals on you to analyze the way your seal works. We will be able to leave in 1 hour, right before noon. Please prepare your bags in the meantime. I would hate to wait for you. The rest of the group nodded, and left one after the other. Naruto briefly locked eyes with Kazama, before walking away. In the end, only Kakashi stayed with the two, much to Sasori's irritation. I asked him to be there beforehand, Kazama said. I have something to talk about with you too. There are things that need to be discussed. Cesori raised an eyebrow, and began drawing seals on sheets of paper he had prepared. I'm listening. During my fight with Tsukiyomi, the team began. He tried to convince me to join him. I obviously refused, but during our talk, he showed me a recorded meeting of an organization called the Inner Council, aka the conspiracy responsible of most of my, and my counterparts, problems. Cesori stopped writing, and Kakashi's eyes widened. You do realize it's an enemy that showed you that? The redhead frowned. He isn't the most reliable source of information. I know. He had already lied to me once, and it's why I want your point of view. The Inner Council was an organization that formed during the Shodame's rule, Cesori started slowly. It was composed of powerful clan heads that thought he was unfit to rule after giving the bijou to other countries. It got wiped out by the newly created ANBU, under the direction of the Nidaime Hokage when it refused to disband after he inherited his brother's job. It reformed during the Sandaime's late term after Orochimaru's betrayal and Danzo's actions in Amigakure. Danzo? Kazama asked, frowning. ANBU's former commander, Kakashi explained. He was one of the Sandaime's teammates, and his rival for the title of Hokage. After serving as one of Konoha's generals for years, he was forced into retirement after the Sandaime discovered he had secretly founded his own, personal ANBU, an organization called Root. Officially, Cesori corrected. Unofficially, Root still exists, even if it is only a shadow of its former self. And really, the reason why he has been forced to retire is that he tried to forge an alliance with Hanzo, Amigakure's leader, without Konoha's consent. They can have rogue elements like him acting freely without consulting anyone. How can Root still exist? Kakashi wondered. The village cut Danzo's funding and arrested most of his old allies or forced them into retirement. A shadow of its former self, I said, Cesori responded. At best, there are 300 members, a tenth of the ANBU's number. Little cells are easier to fund and maintain, and they probably are recruited in early childhood. With the number of talented and unclaimed orphans on the roads, it is very easy to find and craft powerful and loyal soldiers. Kakashi's expression darkened, and the puppeteer immediately understood why. Cesori had, of course, some knowledge of the man's life, and had learned the general lines of the Ayatsuri's case from some outside sources. He was even doubting that the man's journals had been all destroyed, despite what Konoha had claimed, but such information would only anger the man greatly, and he had no need to prove it, so the puppeteer kept his doubts for himself. This new inner council repeated the mistake of the old one, and refused to disband when the Yondaime came into power, and ended like the older one. The inner circle you're talking about probably appeared soon after the Kyuubi's attack. I haven't enough information on them, since I haven't been able to contact Hamura Mitokado for a long while. My version of Konoha had increased its security and military after Chibaku's departure, so it was too risky to approach him. He was one of the members that Madara showed me, Kazama said, as Cesori finished writing sealing arrays on 4 sheets of paper. Along with Koharu Yudetane, predictable. They are always together. In fact, they had had an affair in their youth. They are more firm and authoritarian than Sarutobi, so it was kind of obvious they would try to affirm themselves. They have large bank accounts and many allies and contacts in the daimyo's court. Hayashi Hyuga, the strongest clan in Konoha, after the Uchiha massacre. We already know that they were the drive and masterminds behind the conspiracy, so no surprise. Shibi Aburame, head of the Aburame clan. Polite, but a firm believer in discipline and a close ally of Hayashi. When one is nearby, the other isn't far away. He also has allies in some minor countries, and possesses many shops in the Land of Fire. Shikaka Nara, master strategist and planner. Probably the brain of the whole operation. Though I wonder why is he helping such a takeover. He must know that antagonizing a demon vessel and the Hokage is harmful in the long term, Perhaps is he simply not confident enough in Konoha's ruler's abilities. Inoichi Yamanaka, Shikaka's best friend, a spy master, and a great psychologist. Probably the second brain of the operation. Is the owner of many florist shops that are a front for information gathering operations and possible assassination. The rest of the names involved some jounin or merchants that Cesori knew enough about to say they were simply opportunists, powerless without the great clans to back them up. They didn't bother him. The leaders, however, why isn't Danzo among them? Kakashi asked, giving voice to Sasori's doubts. I thought he would be a member, being willing to undermine the Hokage and all. Perhaps. Cesori trailed off. But this man is fanatically loyal to Konoha itself, and the inner council is weakening it. He probably sees himself as Sarutobi's closest ally, even if he is willing to ignore his wishes in order to help him. And he is probably one of the only people in the village that wouldn't mind Naruto getting stronger, as long as he is loyal. At least, if he is the same person there as he is in my world. Is my information correct in your universe too, Kakashi-san? The jounin nodded. But it doesn't mean they're right in all of them. This might be problematic, Kazama said. If the conspiracy differs in all worlds, then we will punish those that cross our path, Kakashi announced. At least, after we correct the Madara problem. I agree, Cesori added. Dealing with them and testing the validity of Tsukiyomi's claims is a secondary objective. Kazama clearly wasn't happy with that, but reluctantly nodded. The first, now, is to outmaneuver our pursuers. He put the sheets of paper on the blonde's shoulders, forehead, and belly. These seals will memorize everything that happens to you, modifications of your chakra, interferences, sounds, visions. It will give us some insight into your ability. How it works, what are its limits, and if it can be used in another way than simply teleporting to another world. Getting up, the puppeteer locked eyes with the world wanderer. Our first test will be simple, checking out the precision of your teleportation. You can already transport us at places like the forest near Konoha. Now we will test if you can teleport near this person or near this thing. Kakashi blinked. Like a Sharingan? Like a Sharingan, Cesori agreed. We will test if you can go near a Sharingan, but one that doesn't belong to Uchiha Madara. First, to test the precision, and second, to prevent our capture. At this time, we should have 2 worlds of advance, but we can never be sure. The girl, Naruto. Is everyone ready? Naru-sensei asked. Seeing them all nod, Kazama smiled. We are going to go near a Sharingan, one that, I hope, won't be Madara, or even hostile. Still, prepare yourselves for battle, just in case. Naruto nervously took a few Senbon between her fingers, quickly imitated by Haku. The Yuki had shown her where to put them on someone's body to paralyze some nerves, but she hadn't tried to do that for real. At least, she had all her other techniques to make up for her lack of experience. Sideway, she saw Zabuza grab his sword's grip, and Kitsune doing the same. Chibaku took a kunai in hand, and Cesori simply cracked his fingers, being ready to use his flamethrower anytime. Kazama unsheathed the Kusanagi, and closed his eyes. A flash of light later, they found themselves standing in the middle of a field of red flowers. What is this place? Naruto wondered out loud, looking at her surroundings. The sky was made of yellow clouds, and the field was circled with completely black trees. Looking beneath her, the blonde girl noticed that all the flowers' petals were intertwined, protecting the core of the plant from the outside world. Well, no Sharingan around, Zabuza grunted. You suck at accuracy and orientation, brat. I don't understand, Naru-sensei replied as he scowled. I pictured a Sharingan in my mind. We should have teleported near one. Naruto's eyes was immediately attracted by one of the plant that was slightly moving. This place is freaky, Chibaku said. Something is bothering the Kyuubi. Something like, the petals opened, a predator, revealing a Sharingan with one swirling tomo. Before Naruto had even the time to pale, all the flowers opened, all revealing a red eye in their middle, each of them staring at the group. Chibaku blinked in surprise. Shit. Immediately, dozens of long spiky vines whipped out from the ground, trying to seize the humans like they were some kind of snake. The ninjas quickly dispersed, stepping back as new vines erupted to capture them. At the same time, multiple Sharingan began to appear on the tree's bark, eyeing the fleeing shinobi. Their roots rose out of the earth, and lifted the plants above the soil. And then they began to walk through the field, balancing their branches menacingly. As Naruto avoided a vine, her mind worked frantically to try to understand the situation. Plants weren't supposed to be hostile, or even have bloodline limits. One of the trees reached her, and attempted to hit her with one of its appendages. Gracefully jumping above it, Naruto then leaped on the bark and tried to ram a senbon in one of its eyes. But instead of adhering to the surface, the blonde's feet slipped. Successfully landing safely on the ground, the girl then threw her weapons at the bark, hitting 2 Sharingan. The eyes began to shed black blood, and another one gazed into her own, twisting into a shuriken-like form. The world turned red, full of tears and screams. Her death was inevitable. Her friends and family would get smashed and turned to shreds, their blood feeding the plants like countless before them. They would soon join the multiple devoured bodies, hidden under the red field. An animalistic roar resonated in her mind, and reality returned to normal, the tree's Sharingan glaring hatefully at the blonde. Kyuubi? The girl wondered. Yes, the bijou responded. I don't know how, but these plants can use the Sharingan and one of its advanced techniques, Tsukiyomi. I can break any illusion ensnaring you, but you should gather your friends and escape as quickly as possible before being outnumbered. I know, the blonde replied, as she pierced the tree's last eyes, before rotating toward her companions, who were struggling with the vines and trees. Zabuza was cutting them one after the other. Haku had transformed one into ice. Kakashi and Cesori had just set 2 on fire. Kitsune, Chibaku and Kazama were fighting 2 trees all wrapped into twisted armors of yellow chakra. More walking plants were slowly but surely closing the distance between them and the Erasure clan, like an advancing sea of branches and leaves. Why are they trying to kill us? The girl wondered, as she rushed at her allies' side. To nourish themselves, the Kyuubi replied. They suck their victims' blood to feed on it. When you have been put under the tree's illusion, I've briefly connected with its mind. What I've found in it is disturbing, to put it simply. Why is this forest like this, though? She asked, as she took a kunai and slashed a vine with it. The forest has a mind of its own, the bijou explained, and it really wants to kill everyone passing through it. You and your friends are the last of a very long list of prey and victims, including the forest's creator, some kind of crazy scientist that thought creating Sharingan-producing plants was a good idea. Guys! She shouted. The forest is trying to kill us. No, it's just trying to hug us. Chibaku deadpanned, as he finally found an opening in the tree's armor, making an explosive kunai passing through it. The plant was instantly reduced to ashes. Everyone, gather around me! Kazama shouted. I'll teleport us out of here. So soon? Kakashi asked. That's probably risky. It's either crossing worlds or facing that, Kazama declared, as he stared at an advancing army of Sharingan trees, most of them clad in chakra armor. Okay, the Jounin trailed off. World jump, Zabuza agreed, as he avoided getting smashed by a large branch. To WHE, now! Naruto shouted, as the whole group got encircled. Kazama closed his eyes, and red light filled the clearing. An invisible force made the girl crash on a rock. Difficultly rising up and trying to deal with the pain, Naruto stared at her surroundings. She and the rest of her group were either standing or laying on a plain, under a blue sky and near a big mountain. On it, a little village was constructed. Helping Naru-sensei getting up, the girl saw that the teen's skin had turned white. Boss, are you alright? She asked worryingly. I feel sick, he muttered, touching his belly with his palm. The seal is burning. This is worrisome, Cesori stated. Perhaps we have overloaded it. Kitsune's disturbed murmurs interrupted them. Guys, I think you should look at that. He pointed his finger at something before him. The air before him was breached. A tiny crack was spilling foul-smelling smoke, and slightly growing with each passing second. The tear into space seemed to bleed, spilling molten metal on the grass below, slowly starting a fire. What is this? Zabuza wondered. Doesn't look good. Suddenly, the breach widened, growing to take the size of a large gate. Beyond it, Naruto could see large rocky islands, floating on a sea of lava and molten gold. Also, multiple pairs of yellow, shining eyes were glaring at them malevolently. An instant later, the ninjas jumped backward, as a large form crossed the breach and landed where they were previously standing, creating a small crater as a result. As dust filled the airs, Naruto saw other shadowy figures passing through the gate. When the girl could see clearly, she gasped and paled. They were facing monsters. The very large thing that had almost smashed them was a large, bulky creature looking like a bull standing on its legs and having hands. It was wielding a large iron mace, and his eyes were like 2 suns. When he opened his mouth, he revealed 2 sets of fangs. A twin of the beast was standing behind it, glaring ferociously at Kazama. At his sides, 2 humanoids wearing red armor and holding 2-handed blazing swords. The opening in their cuirasses only revealed black bones, and 2 green glows in place of the eyes. They weren't moving, as if they were dead, which they probably were, in a way. Behind them were standing 2 ogre-like beasts, blue and red, with horns, large fangs, wild white hair, and 6 fingers. They were wearing black kimonos, sandals, and iron clubs. They smirked at Naruto and company, as if they were trying to appear nice, while they inwardly weren't. The last creature was bigger. In fact, it overshadowed everyone. It was around 12 feet tall, and looked like a humanoid lizard. It had a purple, thick skin, a dart at the end of its tail, and 2 yellow wings without feathers. It had a long neck, impressive claws, and a green substance was dripping from its fangs. The lizard stared at the ninjas, making them straighten and stiffen. "You," he declared with a raspy, deep, inhuman voice, "you are the summoners. Thank you for having called us. You have the Makai's eternal gratitude." Naruto's jaw dropped. It's nothing," she replied lamely. "You will be handsomely rewarded for your help," the lizard continued. "Money, love, power, immortality, you will have whatever you want. I, Kishin, ruler of the Sea of Fire and son of the great Kiryu, will make sure of it." Nobody had any idea of what to respond to that. "Take your time to think about it," Kishin said. "We have all the time in the world, now that you have opened the gate. I have no idea of how did you succeed at opening a permanent breach between our 2 plans of existence. It's quite the feat." Kazama smiled uneasily. "Well, it was quite hazardous. It is still very impressive," the lizard praised him. "I don't sense any residual magic or chakra, which means you have done that with your will alone. Only gods have that power, young son of man. I'm sure that with enough training and adapted techniques, you will be able to open bigger breaches, or make your abilities ascend to another level." "Thank you," the teen trailed off, not sure what to say. Naruto could understand. "It wasn't all days that you were praised by some kind of winged reptile." Kishin seemed to smirk. "I think we can begin today. I know a ritual that, with a large number of human sacrifices, should be sufficient to widen the breach, and allow the invasion force to annex this dimension." Naruto's eyes widened. "Invasion force? Invasion force?" Kazama asked out loud. "Well, yes, the invasion force," the winged beast smirked. "Who do you think we are? Unorganized savages? Our legions are already gathering from the other side of the portal. Within 7 hours, this world will be Hell's property." He stared at Kazama. "As a reward for your help, you will be of course given dominion over this plane, and perhaps even others, if you can open more gates. The size is a bit problematic, but as long as there are local settlements nearby it won't be a problem." It looked at the town on the mountain, like this one. "I smell some fresh blood, young, tasty children." It licked its lips, immediately imitated by the other creatures. "I'm already hearing the screams of their parents when I will eat their progeny and burn their home to the ground." "Maim!" The other creatures singed, ignoring the terrified expressions of Naruto's group. "Kill! Burn! We will lose sweet destruction, my dears," Kishin promised. "This village will be the first of our never-ending conquest." It stared at the humans. "Would you like to participate? It will always be possible to discuss the terms of your allegiance to Hell, rewards, obligations, rank in the legions and all that stuff later. Believe me, killing innocent people is a good sport. Especially when they can't fight back." Naruto's eyes widened horrifically. She prepared herself to fight. "In your dreams, yeah," Chibaku declared, as he unsealed Yukmachi. "No way I'm going to let you destroy this town. Who the fuck are you?" Zabuza growled. The lizard seemed to frown. "Who am wait?" It blinked. "You didn't summon us on purpose, did you? You are not demon summoners?" The other monsters grinned, seizing their weapons, quickly imitated by the humans. But then a deep sound began to resonate. Kishin was laughing. "It's really a lucky day," the creature roared. "I thought you were already corrupted. Now I have to tempt you, making this all the sweeter." It smirked. "You have absolutely no idea of who I am, do you?" it asked, as his eyes glowed even brighter. "Let me present myself. I am the Demon Lord Kishin, emissary of the Makai, and top general of the forces of Hell." "And crap," Naruto thought. "My dear friends," it announced. "I am a representative of the Makai, the great and beautiful realm where all corrupt souls end and suffer when they die, always seeking to enslave other planes of the existence. The demon lords ruling it are thereby offering you, accidental summoners, a chance to tag along for the ride that is the great and glorious conquest of everything that is." Its wings moved, began to fly, roared, and then breathed a blue fire at the sky. "In exchange for your precious help, the Makai will offer you whatever you want: immortality, riches, Women and men. Slaves. Territories. Power. Knowledge. Vacations in our dominions. I especially counsel the last. We have some wonderful beaches and hostels in hell, it added with a smirk. In exchange, we only need your eternal allegiance, and some annual sacrifices. No need to offer your soul, since you will immediately be promoted in the demonic hierarchy once you're dead, in case you don't choose immortality. We are nefarious, not treacherous, it stared at the humans below. How can you refuse such generous offer? You know, no need to mind about the many people you and we are going to kill, devour, enslave, torture and or oppress, depending on the preferences. They will understand that you couldn't have let such opportunity like this slide. The ninja's answer was a series of hand seals. Well, the lizard trailed off. We can always force you to cooperate, or you're just that masochist. Demons, attack! Capture the summoner, and kill the rest of them. Really, the Kyuubi whispered in Naruto's mind, as the other demons charged at her. The next time your counterpart creates a dimensional gate to somewhere in the cosmos, tell him to open the way to heaven instead. The dragoness. In some world, where distorted angels were fighting giant creatures protecting mankind, a dragon demon god thing stiffened. She had been tranquilly resting on a paradisiacal island, taking a break from her container's insane adventures. Not that she didn't enjoy contributing to the chaos herself, mind you, when she had sensed someone messing with the fabric of reality, in the bad sense of the term. Even if she had never considered herself a card-carrying member of the fiendish races, demonic blood still ran strongly in her veins. She could listen to the whispers of the abysses, and her mind was still connected with those of her unstable and corrupted relatives. And one of them, a powerful demon lord, had just been summoned in an unregistered universe by some human and was inviting every available fiend to help him conquer it. Idiot. Under normal circumstances, the dragoness would have simply left the locals deal with the threat, but two things were unsettling. The first was that, well, it was an undiscovered universe, and there was always a chance that the natives had no way to deal with a transuniversal demonic invasion. It wasn't that she went out of her way to help random universes every time one looked like it needed help, just the opposite. Quite frequently she just stayed on the sidelines and watched the shows unfold. But she wasn't cruel enough to let her grandfather's spawn ravage a defenseless world unchecked when said spawn was doing such a sloppy job of just getting into the world. It would let the demons' heads get too big, as if many weren't big enough. The second was that, well, the summoner hadn't used any known spell or technique to call upon her relative. He had just torn space apart. That was neither normal for dimension travelers, nor good. None of the demons of the invading world knew how exactly the fabrics of reality had been breached, but they were all aware that the opening of a permanent, if small, portal between a fiendish plan and a human world had been made. Anyone with any education in the field was aware that this was no small feat, that only incredibly powerful people or creatures could even hope to accomplish something like this. The mere possibility of allying with an evil summoner able to open gates through the multiverse was exciting to the demons, terrifying for almost everyone else, and very annoying for her. The dragoness was not going to allow someone with that power to join the forces of evil, or at least the forces of impulsive, rampant, destructive evil. Smart, evil bad guys at least had some self-control when it came to matters like these. The multiverse had already enough evil overlord wannabes. No need to have another troublemaker, especially if this one was a menace to multiple worlds. Dealing with him now would spare the dragoness future hassles, so she could do her own thing, which was mess around with the heads of obnoxious and clueless unknowing figures of great power that couldn't jump between worlds. Flying away to another island, the deity decided to pick a couple of her servants along for the ride. Dealing with demons and malevolent humans was an activity she was doing all the time, and a sport that she really enjoyed since her targets were almost as creative and varied as her 5 servants. But she wasn't an expert at sealing interdimensional portals. Traveling and making them, yes, that was easy, but torn portals required a certain touch. Quickly finding her container lazily sunbathing on a beach, the dragoness dive-bombed her, literally. It was good for the woman that the otherworldly being was only the size of a sparrow at the point in time. The woman only got a small concussion from the blow that left her inside a 10-foot-deep crater. Suzushi, you stupid lizard! The girl spat out irritably as she picked herself out from the hole in the ground. I was having a good dream full of candy. I actually managed to break my record of chewing on 8 jawbreakers at once in them. We can pacify your sweet tooth later, the dragoness purred. I need you and Ghost, and perhaps even his apprentice. We have work to do, the black-haired girl, also known as Shadow, growled. It's a vacation, damn it, offered by Gendo Ikari, of all people. Willingly. We didn't have to blackmail, or bribe, or do anything for him this time somehow, which I am still trying to figure out how Ghost managed to pull off. It's the reason why I actually bothered to travel here in the first place. We are not supposed to work. Ignoring her connationer's childish wrath, the Sky Mother bolted off into the sky, and as such was quickly followed by said irritated vessel. Faster than the wind the two flew toward the dragon's strongest servant and his blonde apprentice, who were eating ice cream with a blue-haired girl and a male teenager, and dive-bombed him in the same manner as her apprentice. The impact launched the local teens away hard enough that they were knocked out, but the apprentice managed to land unharmed. What the F, a physically 14-and-a-half-year-old Naruto Uzumaki, otherwise known as Konoha's feral Gale, nearly swore before realizing what had just happened. Why the hell can't anything you guys do be subtle for once? My ice cream! The second immortal shouted in pain and loss as he looked at the melted and discarded frozen dairy product several feet away from him. He had a future ahead of him with a wife and 3 children. Why? One of my demonic cousins was summoned to an unregistered universe near the boys by accident, and the idiot is calling out to literally every demonic presence that can possibly make it to see if they want to join in the fun. Suzushi explained, ignoring her strongest servant's temporary moment of insanity. The portal is permanent and unstable, so we have to fix it while kicking his ass so that he doesn't get ahead of himself, and maim the idiot who foolishly made the portal in the first place. The dragoness explained. A permanent portal? Shadow raised an eyebrow. That's new. Naruto sighed, resigned to be used to solve another problem that he shouldn't have any part of. This was the third random excursion that he had to take since his master took him dimension hopping for his training. Why do we always have to do crazy stuff? I thought your training trip was simply going to stay that, a training trip, and people thought that shit only happens when I'm the one in charge of the missions. There is a good reason for that. The god of none grunted as he picked himself up, reversing time on his body so that the several dozen broken bones that he received didn't exist anymore. It's called Murphy's Law. That, and the multiverse hates my guts for some obscure reason, I gathered. The boys sighed before looking at the knocked-out Rei and Shinji. Shouldn't we do something about them? You know, make sure they aren't dead and stuff, they'll be fine. Ghost waved a hand lazily. Shinji's an optimistic idiot, so he heals quickly, and Rei is the silent cold type. They always get back right up no matter what. Fine. Shadow sulked to the dragon as she covered herself in darkness before her natural casual attire materialized from the empty substance. After this you better not bug us with chores again, Suzushi. Scare one of the local gods to do your work for once instead of dumping it on us. The dragoness snorted as she opened a portal in front of the group of 3. Sure. Whatever you say, slave. Fucking walking purse.